In the last days of spring, the Russian army not only completely seized the initiative on the battlefield, but also intensified massive missile strikes against military and energy facilities in Ukraine. However, before moving on to the main topic of this video, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that processes have begun in Ukraine that indicate that the imminent surrender of the Kyiv authorities is simply inevitable. The fact is that a series of serious defeats of the armed forces of Ukraine on the battlefield forced the Ukrainian regime, led by Vladimir Zelensky, to begin taking emergency measures in order to slow down the collapse of the entire front. As it turned out, after the Russian army, within 12 days, took control of more than 14 settlements in the northern part of the Kharkiv region, the Kyiv regime arrested about 30 commanders of the armed forces of Ukraine. Moreover, the commander of the operational tactical grouping of troops under the designation Kharkiv, Brigadier General Yuri Galushkin, was also removed from his post. All these high-ranking officers of the Ukrainian army are accused of a panicked retreat in the Kharkiv region, and the transfer of dozens of settlements to the enemy. According to insiders in Kyiv, all these Ukrainian officers face prison sentences between 10 years and life imprisonment. Moreover, against the background of the panicked retreat of Ukrainian soldiers and officers along the entire line of combat contact, the Kyiv regime also decided to create a so-called military police, which would include punitive functions, to prevent the final collapse of the front. However, these actions will no longer help Vladimir Zelensky, since not only ordinary citizens of Ukraine but also Ukrainian soldiers and officers are already fed up with the current war. Every day, dozens of videos appear on the web, where Ukrainian citizens fight with representatives of military enlistment offices and refuse to go to the front. Every day, dozens of videos appear on the web, where Ukrainian soldiers are surrendering to Russian troops and voluntarily leaving their positions. Even pro-Ukrainian Western experts admit that Vladimir Zelensky and his American patrons are no longer able to fix something, and that the capitulation of the Kyiv regime is only a matter of time. Meanwhile, the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, Alexander Litvinenko, during an interview with British journalists from the Financial Times newspaper, complained that the 50,000-strong Russian army is concentrated at the northern border of Ukraine in full combat readiness, and that this army is waiting for the order to deliver a decisive blow. Alexander Litvinenko said that if this Russian army marches on Kharkiv, the armed forces of Ukraine will not be able to hold the city, even despite the military support of Western countries. In addition, Ukrainian telegram channels and independent experts began to accuse the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, General Sersky, of throwing all remaining forces only to the Kharkiv direction of the front. According to them, these rash actions of General Sersky have already led to the fact that the armed forces of Ukraine, within 72 hours, lost such settlements as Ivanovka and Berestovoy, in the Kupiansk direction of the front. At the same time, Ukrainian sources regretfully admit that even the transfer of the remaining reserves and combat-ready brigades of the Ukrainian army to the Kharkiv direction of the front has not yet yielded any results. According to them, the Ukrainian brigades never managed to stop the advance of the Russian army. The Russians not only continue to increase the controlled territories in Volchansk, but also in the area of the settlement of Lipsy. It is reported that as of May 27, 2024, in Volchansk, Russian offensive units have advanced to a depth of 400 meters. Against this background, Vladimir Zelensky literally began ordering Western countries to help the armed forces of Ukraine dislodge the Russian army from Volchansk. According to insiders, the Kyiv regime went all in to save Volchansk. As it turned out, the Ukrainian High Military Command sent to Volchansk not only the last reserves along with foreign mercenaries, but also all the elite units of the armed forces of Ukraine, including a special presidential brigade, which is the prototype of the NATO army. This brigade is not only equipped with the most modern NATO weapons, but also uses the tactics of the NATO armies. Moreover, such air defense systems as SAMT, IRIS-T, and Patriot were also deployed in the Kharkiv direction. All this indicates that the Kyiv regime and its patrons from the United States will fight for Volchansk to the last. Meanwhile, on the night of May 26, Russia launched another massive missile strike on the territory of Ukraine. This time, Russian missiles hit dozens of military targets and energy infrastructure facilities in the Kirovohrad, Poltava, Zhytomyr, Kyiv, and Khmelnytsky regions. According to preliminary data, during this attack, Russia used about 2295 MSM and 10 Tu-22M3M strategic bombers. In addition, MiG-31K fighter jets were also lifted into the air, along with KINZHAL hypersonic missiles. As I said earlier, Russia never uses hypersonic missiles against conventional targets. And this night attack confirmed my words again. As it turned out, while Russian Kh-101 cruise missiles, together with kamikaze drones, destroyed military targets and energy infrastructure facilities in the Kirovohrad, Poltava, Zhytomyr, and Kyiv regions, Russian hypersonic missiles again struck the STAROKOSTIANTYNIV airbase in the Khmelnytsky region. Let me remind you that the STAROKOSTIANTYNIV airbase is one of the few facilities that NATO was preparing for the acceptance of American F-16 fighter jets. According to representatives of the Russian underground in Ukraine, Russian hypersonic missiles not only significantly damaged this military airbase, but also destroyed underground hangars, where, according to preliminary data, there were officers of the armed forces of Ukraine and NATO armies, along with spare parts for American fighter jets. Unfortunately, it is still unknown about the exact number of casualties among the Ukrainian and NATO military. Most likely, accurate data will appear within the next 2 to 3 days.